you will get results very quickly. On the other hand, if you think it's wrong, just leave it out and carry on with whatever you were doing before, but don't develop anger, resentment, or arguments against it. So I make the same kind of request from all of you. Okay, let's start with observing Panchasila. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dhammang saranang gacchami. Sanghang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Adinna dana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Kamesu micchācara veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Musavada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Surameraya majjapamadattana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Next, we are going to meditate for a few minutes. Could you all please sit comfortably, either on a chair or on a cushion or on the floor, whichever you find most comfortable. You can lean against the wall or the chair if you like. Take a deep breath and let it out very slowly. Please repeat that 3 times. While staying in the same position and still keeping your eyes closed, can you please repeat this Karmasthana meditation sentences after me? May all living beings and myself be healthy. May all living beings and myself be happy. May all living beings and myself be free from worries. May all living beings and myself be free from suffering. May all living beings and myself comprehend the Four Noble Truths. May all living beings and myself finally attain permanent happiness in Nibbana. Let's repeat once more. May all living beings and myself be healthy. May all living beings and myself be happy. May all living beings and myself be free from worries. May all living beings and myself be free from suffering. May all living beings and myself comprehend the Four Noble Truths. May all living beings and myself finally attain permanent happiness in Nibbana. While staying in the same position and still keeping your eyes closed, can you please repeat those Karmasthana meditation sentences in your mind for 3 minutes, please? while staying in the same position and still keeping your eyes closed, can you all please take a deep breath and let it out very slowly? Please repeat that 3 times. Please open your eyes now, sit comfortably, and get ready for the Dhamma discussion. Now, as I explained earlier, in this series of Dhamma discussions, we are discussing the path to Sothapanna, the first level of enlightenment. First, I'll quickly recap what we discussed so far. In the first discussion, I explained the Chutta Sutra and what happens to a person when that person dies. Then we started on the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, and we started to explain the 4 noble truths. The first one, noble truth of suffering. We explained the 11 types of suffering that Lord Buddha has explained in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra. And he explained that all 11 are due to attachment, which is, all 11 are due to tanha, which is attachment with raga, dvesha, moha. Then the second noble truth, the reason for suffering, he explained as tanha, kama tanha, bhava tanha, vibhava tanha. Tanha is again attachment with raga, dvesha, moha. We discussed all that in some detail. Then the third noble truth, out of suffering. According to the cause and effect theory, Lord Buddha explained that if we want to stop the effect, we have to stop the cause first. So here, if we want to stop suffering, we have to eradicate attachment. In other words, stop attachment with raga, dvesha, moha. The third noble truth also we discuss in some detail. And today we are going to discuss the fourth noble truth. The noble truth of the way out of suffering. So in Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra, Lord Buddha says, the noble truth of the way out of suffering. In other words, the way to get out of suffering is the noble eightfold path. The noble eightfold path he described as Samma Ditti, Samma Sankappa, Samma Vacha, Samma Kammanta, Samma Ajiva, Samma Vayama, Samma Sati, and Samma Samadhi. Now let's discuss these 8 in some detail. Samma Ditti. Sang means anything that we are doing with the construction of a thought. Anything that starts with the construction of a thought with raga, dvesha, moha is known as sang. The best example to find the meaning of sun, you will find in the last 3 words that Lord Buddha explained to people or advised people or preached people before he passed away to Parinibbana was appamadena sang pahadeta. Appamadena means without any delay. Pahadeta means completely eradicate. Sang means raga, dvesha, moha, the keles. So he said, eradicate raga, dvesha, moha without any delay. So Buddha Dhamma is all about eradicating Raga Dvesha Moha completely and maximizing Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka. That's loving kindness, equanimity, and sympathetic joy. So Sang means Raga Dvesha Moha. So Sammaditthi means Ma means completely eradicating. Ditti is the vision, a complete understanding, clear understanding. So Sammaditthi means a clear vision of how to eradicate Raga, Dvesha, Moha. So a person who has come to Sammaditthi knows clearly and precisely, without any doubt whatsoever, as to how to eradicate Raga, Dvesha, Moha completely, which is the Noble Eightfold Path. So the person who comes to Sammaditthi has already completed the first fold, Sammaditthi, of the Noble Eightfold Path. So he has to complete the other 7. Now, at this stage, he is called a stream enterer or Sothapanna. Sotha means the Nibbana Marga, the stream. Apanna means arrived at. So the Sothapanna person or Sammaditthi person has arrived at the Nibbana Marga. That's why he's called a stream enterer or Sothapanna person. And there's no way of going back. So when he comes to this stage, he has already eradicated 3 out of the 10 bonds that binds the person to this samsara. Samsara is the continuation of this birth and rebirth process. So the person who has come to Sammaditthi, he knows how to stop this process, how to eradicate Raga, Dvesha, Moha, but he hasn't done it completely. But he has eradicated more than 50% of his Raga, Dvesha, Moha by understanding of how to eradicate that. So because of that, he has eradicated 3 bonds that binds him to the samsara. There are 10 bonds that binds a person to samsara. They are called Sakkaya Ditthi, Vichikiccha, Silabbata Paramasa, Kamaraga, Patiga, Ruparaga, Aruparaga, Mana, Uddacha, Avidya. So out of that 10, he has eradicated the first 3, Sakkaya Ditthi, Vichikiccha, Silabbata Paramasa. So we must know clearly and precisely what these 3 are. What is Sakkaya Ditthi? Sakkaya Ditthi is the wrong understanding that we have of our 6 senses. The 6 senses are eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and the mind. So the average person, Lord Buddha called them Pruthajjana person. Pruthajjana person is who has not comprehended Dhamma and who has not become Sothapanna. So Pruthajjana person believes that we live to satisfy these 6 senses and enjoy a mentally fabricated pleasure called aswada. So that's what the person does. He will continue using his thought process. He will collect information to construct thoughts through the 6 senses, and he'll be constructing thoughts that will give him this mentally fabricated pleasure called aswada, and sometimes he will go one step further and convert these thoughts into verbal or physical action. By doing all that, he will enjoy this mentally fabricated pleasure called aswada. And that's what he lives for. But Lord Buddha showed the downside of that called adinava. When you do that, when you construct thoughts with raga, desha, moha and act upon them, you will be automatically accumulating sins and unwholesome qualities. That I explained in detail with a chart explaining the Panchaskandha and the Pancha Upadana Skandha. So the Sothapanna person knows all about the Panchaskandha and the Pancha Upadana Skandha, and how we collect information or how we collect the data through our six senses and process them in our mind in order to enjoy aswada. And he knows the downside of it, the adinava. If we keep on doing that, we will accumulate sins, accumulate unwholesome qualities, and that will result us going into one of the four hells after death. So he has fully comprehended that, and therefore he doesn't want to get there. He will try to do the opposite. Now, when constructing of thoughts with Raga Desha Moha is called Sankara. Sang is Raga Desha Moha. Kara means the action, the verb. So the opposite of Sankara is Visankara. So Lord Buddha explained, instead of constructing thoughts with Raga Desha Moha, what we should do is construct thoughts with Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka. This loving kindness, equanimity, and sympathetic joy. So when we do that, instead of accumulating sins and unwholesome qualities, we'll be accumulating merits and wholesome qualities. And that's what we should do. So the person who has come to Sammaditthi and Sothapanna, he fully understands that. Because of that, he knows the gravity, the danger of doing Sankara. He will try his best to reduce Sankara and gradually increase Visankara. So that's Sammaditthi. So once a person has come to Sammaditthi, he will feel a great relief. It's like a person has been carrying something weighing 100 kilos on each shoulder and feels like he has dropped 50 kilos of them on the ground. He feels so much lighter and happier, and he will not worry about death anymore. That's one of the main things. One of the main worries of a human being is dying. You see, people are very frightened of death. No one wants to die. But a person, once he has become Sothapanna, he will overcome the fear of death. He will not worry about dying anymore. He will have other worries. He can worry about falling sick or things like that, but he will not worry about death because he knows that he will not go to one of the four hells. He will only go to a better place. So that person has overcome Sakkaya Ditti. He has got rid of Sakkaya Ditti. In other words, he has got rid of the wrong understanding he had of the six senses. And Sakkaya Ditti, once he has got rid of Sakkaya Ditti, and the next two, Vicikiccha and Silabbata Paramasa, he will automatically get rid of. Now, Vicikiccha means the doubt that a person has on Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. So a person who fully comprehend the Four Noble Truths at the first level and become Sammaditthi and Sothapanna, that person will have no doubt on Dhamma whatsoever. He has fully comprehended that Dhamma is correct. Not because someone says it, he has understood himself clearly and precisely. And once he has understood that, he has no doubt about the Buddha who discovered that Dhamma and the Sangha who taught that Dhamma to him or her. So he will have no doubt whatsoever about the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. That's Vicikiccha. So he would have got rid of Vicikiccha, the second bond. And the third bond is Silabbata Paramasa. Silabbata Paramasa means wrong rituals. Doing all kinds of other rituals and following various beliefs, believing that they will help him to overcome suffering. But once a person has comprehended Buddha Dhamma at the first level and become Sammaditthi Sammaditya and Sothapanna, he will know clearly and precisely, without any doubt whatsoever, that Noble Eightfold Path is the only way to eradicate suffering by eradicating Raga, Desha, Moha. So he will not do anything outside the Noble Eightfold Path, but Lord Buddha has explained, doing all kinds of rituals, but most other religions do, as well as 90% of the Buddhist people do in the world. So he would have got rid of those three bonds. And once he has got rid of those three, he has become Samaditi and Sotapanna. Then he knows the rest of the path he has to practice. He will start to practice the path from there, because he knows if he can attain if he has, now that he has attained the first level of enlightenment, Sotapanna, and that makes him feel so good and so confident, and then he will know how much better he will feel, and how much more he will feel confident if he goes to the second level of enlightenment, third and the fourth. So he will start to try according to his paramita. Some people are happy with being Sotapanna in this life, but most people will try to go beyond that because they feel better. So the next thing he will do is he will start practicing, depending on the availability of time for him. He will start to practice the other seven folds. So the first one is Sammaditi, second one is Samma Sankappa. Samma Sankappa is thoughts. Now he has already started to work on it at the Sammaditi level, but he will make it even stronger, make a special effort to correct his thoughts. Always when data comes to his mind through the six senses by way of Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, instead of doing Sankara, he will try to do with Sankara. In other words, instead of constructing thoughts with Raga, Desha, Moha, he will try to construct thoughts with Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekha. You cannot do it overnight. It takes time, but you can do it gradually, little by little. That is Samma Sankappa. Samma Vacha. Vacha is the speech. Then at the same time, he'll be scrutinizing his speech, looking at his speech and seeing whether there are improvements that he can do to the words that he uses, the language that he uses, the tone of the language that he uses, to make sure to eradicate Raga, Dvesha, Moha from the speech and include and increase as much as possible Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekha. So that's the third fold. Sammaditi, Samma Sankappa, Samma Vacha. Then the Samma Kammanta. Any action that he's taking after the thoughts, physically. Now, earlier we were talking of Vacha, verbal action, now the physical action. Any physical action that he'll be taking, he'll be looking at them, scrutinizing them, and try to improve them, try and gradually eradicate Raga, Dvesha, Moha from there, and increase Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekha in his physical action. So that's Sammaditi, Samma Sankappa, Samma Vacha, Samma Kammanta. Next one is Samma Vayama. Vayama is the effort. Actually, he's already using the Vayama because you need the effort from the very beginning. So he has already started using it. And he will try to increase the weight, the power of his Samma Vayama, his effort, further. And Samma Vayama, Samma Ajiva. Samma Ajiva is the lifestyle, not only the livelihood, but the entire lifestyle that he follows from the morning he wakes up until he goes to bed. So he will look at his the lifestyle and see where there is raga, desha, moha involved, and he will make an effort to gradually eradicate them. You can't do it immediately just like that, but you can do it gradually, little by little, you eradicate that. Then samma sati. Sati is concentration. Now, concentration also he's already using, because from the very first stage when you start correcting your thoughts, you are using samma vayam and samma sati. Vayam is the effort, sati is the concentration. Then samma samadhi. Samadhi is the meditation. The meditation that Lord Buddha has explained in the Mahasatra Satipatthana Sutra, the 4 meditation techniques. That's and he has explained how he has discovered this meditation technique and how he practiced that. Through the practice of that, how he managed to eradicate raga, dvesha, moha completely and become Samma Sambuddha. So that he explained in the Dveda Vitakka Sutra, which I am going to read to you from the Tripitaka now and explain to you the meanings of that. Now, this is the Tripitaka, the English translation by Bhikkhu Bodhi, which I think is a very, very good translation. So from here, I'm going to explain to you, read to you firstly, the Dveda Vitakka Sutra, and then explain the meanings to you in very, very simple English so that everyone can understand. So it's Majjhima Nikaya, Sutra number 19, Dveda Vitakka Sutra. English meaning 2 kinds of thoughts. Thus have I heard, Venerable Anand is saying, on one occasion, the Blessed One was living at Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Anathapindika's park. There he addressed the bhikkhus thus, Venerable Sir. They replied, the Blessed One said this: Bhikkhus, before my enlightenment, while I was still only an unenlightened bodhisattva, it occurred to me, suppose that I divide my thoughts into 2 classes. Then I set on one side thoughts of sensual desire, thoughts of ill will, and thoughts of cruelty. And I set on the other side thoughts of renunciation, thoughts of non-ill will, and thoughts of non-cruelty. So Lord Buddha is explaining here after attaining Buddhahood, and he says before attaining enlightenment, while he was still a unenlightened bodhisattva, it occurred to him that he should try and divide his thoughts into 2 categories. Thoughts involving raga, dvesha, moha, that's unwholesome thoughts, and thoughts involving maitri, karuna, mudita, upekkha, that's wholesome thoughts. Then he says, as abided thus, diligent, ardent, and resolute, a thought of sensual desire arose in me. I understood thus this thought of sensual desire has arisen in me. This leads to my own affliction, to others' affliction, and to the affliction of both. It obstructs wisdom, causes difficulties, and leads away from Nibbana. When I considered this leads to my own affliction, it subsided in me. When I considered this leads to others' affliction, it subsided in me. When I considered this leads to the obstruction of wisdom, causes difficulties, and leads away from Nibbana, it subsided in me. Whenever a thought of sensual desire arose in me, I abandoned it, removed it, and did away with it. So what he did was, he was watching his, using his some effort and some concentration. He was observing his mind and the thoughts coming to his mind. And when an unwholesome thought, a thought involving raga, desha, moha, came to his mind, he identified that. And what he did was, he said, he considered that this thought leads to others' affliction. When he did that, it subsided in him. Then he considered this leads to the affliction of me, that subsided in him. When he considered this leads to the affliction of both others and himself, it subsided in him. So when he considered this obstructs wisdom, causes difficulties, and leads away from Nibbana, it subsided in him. So what he did was, after that, whenever thought of sensual desire arose in him, he abandoned it, removed it, and did away with it by looking at the negative side of that thought. In other words, adinava. So similarly, he's giving several examples that involving raga, dvesha, moha, and he says every time an unwholesome thought involving raga, dvesha, moha came to his mind, he looked at the negative result that that thought can give. In other words, that leads to his affliction, others' affliction. Affliction is both of them, and it will obstruct his wisdom, or causes difficulties, obstruct his path to Nibbana and others' path to Nibbana. When he was looking at them that way, then that thought subsided in him. So he's giving several examples like that of dealing with unwholesome thoughts. Then he's talking about a wholesome thought. As I abided thus, diligent, ardent, and resolute, a thought of non-ill arose in me, a thought of non-cruelty arose in me. I understood thus, this thought of non-cruelty has arisen in me. This does not lead to my own affliction or to others' affliction or the affliction of both. It aids wisdom. Earlier he said it obstructs wisdom. Now he says it aids wisdom, does not cause difficulties, and leads to Nibbana. The opposite of what he was explaining about unwholesome thoughts. There in unwholesome thoughts, he said it obstructs his wisdom and causes difficulties to Nibbana. Here he says it aids wisdom, does not cause difficulties, and leads to Nibbana. If I think and ponder upon this thought, even for a night, even for a day, even for a night and day, I see nothing to fear from. So what he's saying is, when he was observing his mind, when a wholesome thought, a thought that has been constructed with Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upeka, comes to his mind, he analyzed that thought and realized that that thought will not obstruct his way to wisdom, but aids his wisdom. And also it will help his way to Nibbana and others' way to Nibbana. He will keep on pondering upon that thought, keep on thinking about that thought, and that made him feel so good. So that is what Buddhist meditation is all about. You see, we are trying to eradicate our raga, dvesha, moha qualities that we have already accumulated, and new raga, dvesha, moha thoughts that are coming to our mind. So the only way to do that is stop new Raga Desha Moha thoughts being constructed in our mind. Instead of that, we practice Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka thoughts. And when we do that, what happens is our Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka qualities will improve and strengthen. And also, when we keep thinking about Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka thoughts, we will keep accumulating wholesome qualities, more and more Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka qualities, as well as we will keep accumulating merits. So that is what Buddhist meditation is all about. So here you can see clearly and precisely, there's no mention of breathing meditation. Breathing meditation has always been there. Every religion has breathing meditation, but Lord Buddha's meditation is Buddhist meditation, which helps people to eradicate Raga, Desha, Moha and improve Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka. So that's the difference between breathing meditation techniques and the Buddhist meditation technique. So in this sutra, that's what Lord Buddha explains. And in the next sutra next week, I'm going to explain to you 6 meditation techniques that Lord Buddha explained in the next sutra, Vitakka Samtana Sutra, which you can practice when you are trying to eradicate Raga, Desha, Moha thoughts come into your mind, and try and develop and ponder upon and cultivate Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka thoughts. So that I will do next week. I will take half the time to explain that sutra next week, and the remaining time I will explain how to practice this path. So today I will stop the sermon there and give you time to ask any questions. Anyone has any questions? Any questions, anyone? How many of you are practicing 2 hours a day now? As we explained in season 1 and season 2. I think Nagsen is doing it, right? Nagsen, do you still have the time with your new job?
Yes, Bhanteji, I'm still fine. Till the mid of the April, I was able to do it. But since last couple of days, I'm not able to do it for 2 hours. But at least for 1 hour, I'm maintaining in the morning.
Yes, even 1 hour, even half an hour, if you don't have the time, on a special day, sometimes you could be busy. You may have to make several presentations at work and several meetings. I know what it's like. So on that day, at least try and squeeze half an hour somewhere, on your way to work. Do you drive to work or use the public transport?
No, Bhanteji, I mean, still we have a work from home model. So managing the
Okay,
work from home
okay,
is
that's great. That saves a lot of time, doesn't it?
right, Bhanteji. Also, the new office is very near from my home. It's just a walking distance.
Okay, okay. Is it in the city or in a suburb?
In the city, Bhanteji.
Okay, okay. I hear that the suburbs are very nice in Pune.
Yes, Bhanteji. It's very quite pleasant. Like the city is now full of houses and infrastructure is also very shortened, so city is a little bit crowded. But
Yes,
suburbs are really nice.
yes. Just like London, isn't it?
Not like London. London is very organized. It's not like that. But weather is
London is
pleasant.
like, again, London is a concrete jungle. But when
Yes.
you go to the little away from the suburbs to the green belt, it's very nice.
Right. Right.
The areas where you lived, Feltham and little
Welcome.
beyond
Yeah.
Feltham,
Right.
it's quite nice, isn't it?
Yeah. Even I like that part of the reading, Windsor, and
Oh, it's
reading and
Reading, Oxford, that side is beautiful.
yeah, yeah, the Bath. I mean, it was a nice area.
Any questions, anyone?
It seems Monday it's a long break, and this was the
Yes,
first session after a long break.
yes. Yeah, I thought less people will join today, and only 9 people have joined. That's okay. We are coming towards the end. There's only one more to go.
Bhante,
Yes.
Vandame Bhante.
Nama Buddhaya, Jai Bhim.
My name is Vishwadip Bhante.
Hello.
My name is Vishwadip Bhante.
Vishwadeep. Hello, Vishwadeep.
Bhante, as you were saying that if the thought come in our mind in Rag, Dvesha, Moha,
Yes.
so how to neutralize it or how to ignore it? Is there?
Yes, that's what we are going to do next week in the next sutra. Lord Buddha has given 6 techniques of how to deal with unwholesome thoughts. We will do that next week.
One more question, Bhante.
Yes.
If someone is arguing with us or saying something and we get angry due to it,
Yes.
and but our mind is not angry, but we tell them in harsh word, not harsh word, in loud voice. Is this also rag dvesh moha?
Well, you see, when someone is shouting at you, it's best to keep quiet while he's shouting. And then whatever you want to say, it's best to say it with a very, very soft and low voice rather than shouting back at him, isn't it?
In calm way, in calmer way.
In a very calm way.
Okay.
If you start shouting at him, then even though we don't have Rag Desh Moha in our thoughts, you see, it will be like attacking him back, isn't it? He will take it that way.
Correct. Thank you, Bhante.
Any other questions, anyone? Nagsen, it seems that there are no more questions today. Shall we conclude now?
Yes, Bhante, please.
Okay. Now let's transfer merits, offer blessings to everyone, and conclude today's session. So, as Lord Buddha explained in uh, uh, what is the sutra now? I forgot the name. In Thero Sutra, always when we engage in a meritorious deed like Dhamma discussion, Dhamma teachings, anything to do with meritorious deeds, always we should share those merits, transfer these merits to our relatives who have passed away, as well as those who are living on the 31 planes. The moment we do that, you see, our merits will double and triple. They will multiply, because it's a universal law that more you give, more you get. So more merits we share with the others, more merits we will get. So going by that principle and that teachings, first we are going to transfer all those merits to the merits that we have earned today by discussing Dhamma and listening to Dhamma, as well as all the merits that we have accumulated throughout our samsara. First, we are transferring them to all of our dead relatives. Firstly, I think of Bodhisattva Bharataratna Baba Sahib Dr. B.R. Ambedkar and his relatives who have passed away, and all the relatives of all of us in this life, as well as all the previous lives. May they all receive these merits. With the power of these merits, may they all be happy, be healthy, be free from worries, free from suffering, comprehend the Four Noble Truths, and finally attain permanent happiness in Nibbana. In order to make those wishes, I'm going to recite these gathas. If you know the gathas, you can recite them with me. Otherwise, you can say sadhu 3 times at the end of them. Idamme ñātīnaṁ hotu sukita hontu nātayo. Idamme ñātīnaṁ hotu sukita hontu nātayo. Idamme ñātīnaṁ hotu sukita hontu nātayo. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Next, we are going to transfer merits to all the living beings living on the 31 planes, including the superior beings living in the 20 Brahmaloka and 6 Divyaloka, and the human beings living in the Manushaloka, and the inferior beings living in the 4 hells. May they all receive these merits. With the power of these merits, may they all be happy, be healthy, be free from worries, free from suffering, comprehend the Four Noble Truths, and finally attain permanent happiness in Nibbana. In order to make those wishes, I'm going to recite these gathas. If you know the gathas, you can recite them with me. Otherwise, you can say sadhu 3 times at the end of them. Ettavata chayammehi sambadam punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ettavata chayammehi sambadam punya sampadang sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ettavata chayammehi sambadam punya sampadang sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Next, with the power of all these merits that all of us have accumulated, may all of us, all of you, be able to May you all be healthy, be happy, be free from worries, free from suffering. May you be able to eradicate your raga, dvesha, moha, and comprehend the Four Noble Truths, and finally attain permanent happiness in Nibbana. In order to make those wishes, I'm going to recite these gathas. If you know the gathas, you can recite them with me. Otherwise, you can say sadhu 3 times at the end of them. Imina punya kammena mame bala samagamo satan samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya idamme punya kamman asavakkaya vahan hotu sabba dukkha pamucchatu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Finally, in order to ask for forgiveness from the Noble Triple Gem, Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, I'm going to recite these gathas. If you know the gathas, you can recite them with me. Otherwise, you can say sadhu 3 times at the end of them. Kayena vacha chittena pamadena mayakatang achayang kamame bhante buripanya tathagata. Kayena vacha chittena pamadena mayakatang achayang kamame dhamma samdittika kalika. Kayena vacha chittena pamadena mayakatang achayang kamame sangha supatipanna anuttara. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. I'm going to give you the blessings of the Mahasangha. Abhivadana silisa nichang vadda pachaino chattaro dhamma vaddanti ayuvanno sukambalang ayurarogya sampatti sagga sampatti mevacha ato nibbana sampatti iminate samicchatu bhavtu sabba mangalang rakkantu sabba devata sabba buddhanubhavena sabba dhammanubhavena sabba sanganubhavena sada sutti bhavantu te. May all of you be healthy, be happy, be free from worries, free from suffering. May all your good wishes come true. May all of you comprehend the Four Noble Truths and finally attain permanent happiness in Nibbana. May the Noble Triple Gem, Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha bless you all. Namo Buddhaya, Jai Bhim. Thank you very much and see you next week.
Thank you, Bhanteji. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nagsen and Rima.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Hadika.
Thank you. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, Bhante.
With your